Good morning, good morning, good morning. You know what today is? Monday Morning Chats with Sack. Sack is me. I hope that you guys had a great weekend. I had a really good weekend. I had a good week. I just came back from San Francisco. I was there for 5 days for a conference, and it was very refreshing. It was refreshing to just be in a new area. It's my first time visiting San Francisco and getting a chance to be around some good colleagues and being around colleagues that look like me, even though it was not a lot, but there was times where I was able to be in spaces where I was around professors of color. And those spaces that were really safe for me. They were really safe. But this time, honestly, I got a chance to really reflect. God was really like talking to me during this conference. I'm like, God, you're saying a lot. And it is May, so happy May to everyone. And I pray for nothing but abundance and just joy and blessings for this month. But for April, I asked God for alignment. I asked God for abundance. And the last 2 weeks of April, it was just like so many things were coming to me. But this trip, I got a chance to really reflect. I finished the book, The Gift of Imperfections, Embrace Who You Are and Letting Go of Who You're Supposed to Be. I highly recommend that. By Brene Brown. And even though I'm very self-aware, this book allowed me to really dig deep, right? Dig deep about the things that I really need in my life, right? And why do I need those things? And when I say why I need those things, there's a reason why I need it. Maybe it connects to childhood. Maybe it connects to me being an adult. Like, why do I need those things? But I just started thinking about, I finished the semester. I concluded my first year as a director of a tax clinic / assistant professor. And honestly, it was rewarding. And attending this conference where I was meeting law professors from all over the United States and other countries, it really hit me. Like, I'm really a professor. I'm really a law professor. And even though I've been a law professor for 3 years, this is my 3rd year, this conference, it allowed me to just be still and recognize it. Like, really sit in that accomplishment. Like, wow, I'm really a law professor. And I never thought in a million years that I will get to this place. And so I told God, thank you. Like, thank you so much. Thank you for allowing me to be so worthy of this role. So what I want to talk about is a few things. Just, it's a lot of things I want to say. One, the lessons learned from the semester. And then 2, lessons learned from the gifts of imperfection. So classes ended April 20th, and I treated my students out to dinner. Right? I said, hey, you guys did a great job this semester. Let me take you out to dinner. I told them there was a 2-drink maximum, because I said I do not want to be the professor that encourages drinking, right? Even though I like to partake in a libation sometime, I can control myself. One of the things that I prayed for throughout my life, and I've been more intentional about it this year, once I got into this role, is that I wanted to be impactful. And that is my purpose in life. I want to be impactful in the different roles that I serve, whether it is being a professor, whether it is being a friend, whether it is being a lover to someone. I want to be impactful. I want to be supportive. I want to be loving. I want to be patient. I want to be kind. The one thing that I will always hear, but it's so true, how you show up one way is how you show up always. So I looked at my life, like after class was over, I got a chance to really reflect. And I was like, how do I show up as a professor? My friends told me, my close friends told me how I show up for them as a friend. But I really wanted to know, do I show up the same way as a teacher, right? Do I show up? And I realized that I did. My students, they had to prepare a end of the semester memo. And that memo just pretty much talked about what they have learned in clinic. And I gave them different areas to talk about, whether it's attorney-client relationship, case management, time management, like different areas to write in. And then it's like a final evaluation. And one student, like, I almost cried. I didn't cry last semester, but I almost cried. I got teary-eyed reading these memos. And one student said, I think she's like a year younger than me. She said, you're like a law school mom. She said, you're so nurturing. You create safe spaces. I feel seen by you. You push me to be my very best. And this clinic was life-changing. And I'm so grateful. One student told me that I gave her the space to be safe. I boost her confidence. I always cheer this student on whenever they got something right in class, like, hey, great job, right? And no matter how successful you are, no matter how old you are, it's nothing like someone saying job well done or hey, I'm proud of you, or getting some type of praise. And then the last part is she said, you helped me heal. We had an assignment that I didn't realize it was triggering for her. And she said, you really helped me heal, and I would like to just say thank you. And when I met with my students for dinner, I was like, I want you guys to do the course evaluation. If there's anything you think I need to change, I'm always open for change. If you think there's something I need to work on, please let me know. And the students, they were pissed at me at the end of the semester. And they were like, we're upset, professor. And I was like, why? And they were like, we want to take this clinic again. And the way our clinics was set up is that the students would have to take 2 clinics. They just can't take the same clinic. They're like, why can't we take this as part 2? We want to take this as part 2. We really love this clinic. And I asked my students, I said, so I want to be a better professor. And I said, there's always room for growth. And I said, thank you guys for allowing me to grow with you guys. And thank you for allowing me to learn with you. Even though I have taught you things, you have taught me a lot. And I am so grateful. And I said, is there, I'm in various committees for the law school. And I said, my goal is to make our school better. I was like, is there anything that you would recommend for me to implement change for our school? And then I said, what is your definition of a great teacher? I said, that's my goal, to get there. And the student said, it's you. It is you, Professor Tillman. And I was shocked. And they were like, you are the definition of a great teacher, a great professor. And I hope that our school gets to have you forever. And they were like, I don't think you realize how great you are as a professor. The students talk about you all the time. The students that never even had your class really like you. And I said, well, so can I ask you this? I said, well, what makes me a great professor? It was like, you're able to relate to us. You don't talk down to us. You treat us like human beings. You explain the topic very well. You repeat yourself. And you're patient. You're so patient. I feel okay making a mistake in front of me because I know that you're not going to lash out on me and you're not going to use it against me. And you push us, even though you're hard on us, because I am hard on my students. They was like, I really needed that. You did not allow us to cut corners. And what I share with my therapist, I told my therapist this. I said, most times when I'm working, I'm there to fulfill a purpose, to complete a task. And I do this because I like it, right? That's what I enjoy. But I didn't know the impact that it had on people, right? So it feels good to hear that, because I want to make sure I'm doing good deeds. And, my goal in life is to serve and to be impactful. So when it's time for me to close my eyes and go to my second home, I want God to say, job well done. So that's what I strive for every day. I strive for that. And I told my aunt, how you do one thing is how you do all things, right? So I like to feed people. And I told my aunt, I said, I always try to figure out why I love to feed people, right? So when I was in college, that's when I learned to really experiment with food and make different dishes. And I would tell my friends hey, I made food, guys, come over. Or if my friends were going out to a party and I decided not to go, I'll make them a late night snack. One of the things one of my best friends love is my lemon pepper wings. I have not made it in a while, but if she wanted me to make them, I would make them with no hesitation. But I started to think why do I like cooking for people, right? Why do I like making sure people eat? And I started to think about it. I don't make plates for people or make dinner for people just to say, hey, pick me, be my friend. Honestly, that's who I am. And the reason why I'm like that is because growing up, my grandmother lived in the project, McGuire Projects in Camden, New Jersey. She was well respected. And the one thing that I remember when my grandmother was alive, during my childhood, I witnessed a lot of family members on drugs. They were addicted to drugs. And my grandmother always showed them unconditional love. Even some of them were her kids. She loved them no matter what. So I've learned unconditional love from my grandmother, to love people no matter what. But my grandmother's door was always open for someone that was hungry. I remember that being 5 years old. Her door was always open. She always made people food. Always made people food. If you needed something to eat, there was always something for someone to eat. And I didn't know that I got that from her until I got older. And when I moved to Maryland and I would cook, I would invite my friends hey, come over. Hey, I will make a lot. And I'll say, hey, take some of my Tupperware. Take some home. Take some for lunch. My best friend, I will cook. And I'm hey, I made food. Hey, I know that you didn't eat lunch. Or maybe you're going to buy lunch. But hey, I have some extra food. Take this so you don't have to pay for lunch. Here's some food for you. Here's some lunch for you. Here's some dinner for you. And I'll just pack. I'll have different Tupperwares for different days for my best friend so he can have dinner and have lunch or whatever, or a snack, or however he may categorize the meal. But I would do that. And I find myself doing that now. And and the lesson from my grandmother was, I don't know people's household situations. I don't know. But if I have a house, I want to make sure it's filled with food so I can give back and help somebody that may not be able to prepare a meal. I do it now. There's an assisted living house across the street from me. So anytime that I make big meals, I will make them, I would get them plates. I would get them Tupperware, not even Tupperware, but aluminum pans with all food. I remember one year, this was 2019, I made Thanksgiving dinner. And I made them their own dinner. I made them turkey, made them macaroni and cheese, everything. I made them their own meal and delivered it to them. And it feels good. When I was in law school, I would go to the Ronald McDonald House with my, the boss of the Black Law Students Association. We would make dinner for the sick kids. and leave out. We never ate dinner with them, but we would buy the food, make it for them so they can have food. I would go to different food pantries and make food for folks. And I remember serving homeless folks so they could have food. And I realized, honestly, that's just who I am. And I'm not going to ever change that. I'm not going to ever change that. I just like cooking for people. That's something that my grandmother taught me, my deceased grandmother, and my grandmother that's still living. I just remember that anytime we had family guests, she will always cook them dinner. And like, I remember that. And I thank God for allowing me to live with my grandmother that's still living now, because I know what it's like to have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I know some kids didn't have that. Like, I remember just sitting at the table and everyone holding hands to say grace. And then when my parents had to live with me for a short period of time, I made sure every meal that we had it together. And we always said grace. And it's funny because last year I gave my cousin a 30th birthday party at my house. And my parents were here. And I cooked them breakfast. And they did not eat until I sat down. And they waited until I said grace. And I said, wow, God, you allowed me to have some type of impact on my family too. And so I realized that's who I am. And when I talked to my girlfriends at the beginning of this year about, hey, am I showing up for you in a way that you need to? Am I being a good friend? And the things that my students said, that's exactly what my friends said, how I show up. So in any title that I have, I show up the same way. A lover is different because now there's more of a deeper connection, right? But I found myself this year being able to share, right? Being able to share how I feel about things. But most importantly, being okay if I don't get the response that I want, right? Being able to share, not even expecting a response, but speaking my truth, because that allows me to heal, right? You heal over the things you talk about. So letting things out, whether it is a call, whether it's an email, whether it's a text, doing just that. So that's pretty much like what I've learned from the semester. Also tied into the gifts of perfection, the gifts of imperfection, and what I've learned. And I told my therapist that I've always been self-aware, but this book allowed me to dig even deeper. And sometimes when you dig deep, you can feel shame, right? Because you're like digging to the root of your problem, and you may question, like, why did you do certain things that you did? And you may question, like, why should you forgive yourself for the things that you allow? And honestly, I dig deep to just really understand and to really give myself grace, because there's some things I didn't know that I know now. But I'm grateful, right? But I'm grateful that I made a decision to really dig deep and to acknowledge the things that are not so good so I could become better, right? I will always hear people say that have children, some, not all, that I want to give my kids the things that I didn't have. So I pray for my future husband. I pray for my future children. And one of the prayers that I have for my future children, it's not a lot. I can't have, the max is 2. So when I say children, I'm not talking about like 3, 4, 5. I told God that's not in the blessing. Don't give me no 5 kids. But the prayer that I have, one of them for my future children, is that I want to teach them the things I was never taught, right? So teaching them about emotional intelligence and teaching them to own their truth and to thoroughly express themselves, giving them the safe space to express themselves, and being able to listen and to receive and listen to understand instead of listening to respond. That is something I want to teach my unborn children, and to teach them to keep God first in all facets of their life. I also pray for my future husband. I pray that he knows he doesn't have to be 100% perfect. No one's perfect at all. You don't have to be this 100%. That no matter how much you heal, there's always work to be done. And most times, some of that work gets done when you are aligned with a partner that can help you identify the triggers that you can't see. That can help you heal past pain that you don't even know that's still even there. And realizing that everyone has baggage, right? And the question is, did you find the right person to help you unpack it and to really process it? So that book really taught me to really just look within and be grateful of the growth and being thankful and thanking God that I gave myself the choice to grow, because you can see, some people can see and acknowledge and identify, hey, that is wrong, or that is not correct, or this is not this and this is not that. But are you willing to make the change? Because change requires you to be uncomfortable. And I realized that I was very uncomfortable. I told my therapist, I said, one of the things that I've learned over the last 2 years is that, and this is how I know God has worked with me, and me understanding 1 Corinthians chapter 13, right? About love. And if you listen to Lauryn Hill tell him, the lyrics, oh my God, it's amazing. But when I listen to the lyrics, when I listen to Lauryn Hill tell him, and I read 1 Corinthians chapter 13 about not counting wrongdoings against someone that you love, that's really hard. And I told my therapist, I said, one of the hardest things I had to do was pray for the person that made me cry. Pray for the person that hurt me. That was one of the hardest things I ever had to do in my life. Like praying for the person that hurt you. Praying for them. Like really praying for them. By far, one of the hardest things I ever had to do. This book allowed me to dig deep and look at how far I've come. Like I told one of my girlfriends, she thought I was joking. I was like, I rededicated my life to Christ. That was in 2011. When I was in law school, I rededicated my life to Christ. So my rededication 12 years ago to when I first got introduced to Zion in November 2014. So when I started Bible study, being consistent, right? Showing up, because how I showed up in Bible study is how I show up in every different role in my life. Started Bible study in January 2018. And at the time, I was doing the Daniel's fast. And I needed to hear from God. He told me that this is a Bible study. To September 2020, me facilitating the Bible studies and me coming from receiving the word to giving the word and actually have to walk in that. To now, those were different Sakinas. They were different. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. I'm going to end with this quote. It's by Brene Brown, and I love her. We cultivate love when we allow our most vulnerable and powerful selves to be deeply seen and known, and when we honor the spiritual connection that grows from that offering with trust, respect, kindness, and affection. Love is not something we give or get. It is something that we nurture and grow, a connection that can be cultivated between two people only exists when it exists within each of them. We can love others only as much we love ourselves. Shame, blame, disrespect, betrayal, And the withholding of affection damage the roots from which love grows. Love can survive these injuries only if they're acknowledged, healed, and rare. And so because I give myself love and I practice self-love on a daily basis, and it's a healthy love, I'm able to show that in every role that I feel, whether it's a professor, because that love's going to look different. Professor, as a daughter, as a sister, as a friend, as a best friend, as a colleague, as someone that's going to be someone's future wife, a future mother. I'm able to give the love for myself first. That's how I'm able to give it to others. But what's so powerful is that love is not something that we just give or get from people. You have to nurture it. And when it comes to self-love, that requires nurturing. It's really looking at your past. And even though you may be shameful, don't sit in it. Just learn from it and figure out what you need to do to move forward. And even though we all have baggage, we all have history, we all have history of trauma and different things that really hurt us, and maybe that affects our ability to love ourselves. This quote says we can still survive these things, but you got to acknowledge it. And you got to make the decision to heal. And throughout therapy, this last therapy session, I told my therapist, I was like, hey, I know exactly what I need. I know exactly. And I shed a tear today in therapy. Being able to acknowledge things and realize, like, man, look how much I've grown. And so I hope and pray that for those that are listening to this, that I hope that the love that you want others to give you, I hope that you give it to yourself. I want you to look really deep within and ask yourself, how are you showing up? Because how you show up will affect how people show up for you. So how are you showing up for people? What does, it's more than the love languages, but what does the love that you give yourself, what does it look like? Is it safe? Is it warm? Is it inviting? Are you giving that to yourself? Do you make time for yourself? Do you tell yourself you love yourself? I look a hot mess, right? My hair needs to be done. But damn it, I'm fine as hell. And my hair gets done Thursday. I made my appointment while on the plane. So I hope that you look at yourself and realize that you are a masterpiece. You are a masterpiece. That masterpiece doesn't mean like all the different parts is perfect. But what that means is that all the different parts are different. And they come with stories. And that's what makes you a masterpiece, because you have a story. You have a story. And every intricate of your whole well-being put together is a story. And I just hope and pray that you are not shameful of that story. And your story can set someone free. So I hope that you share it. I hope that you're able to acknowledge how you show up. What does that look like? I hope that you're able to give the love that you want others to give you, give it to yourself. And once you manifest that, like, hey, I want this love, I hope that it starts within so people can see it, and then they can pour even more love into you. That is my prayer. It is Monday, so I would like to shout out to all the dope men out there. You are amazing. You are great. You're phenomenal. And I'm not just saying it, but you guys need to hear it. Like, you are amazing, especially to Black men. You need to hear that you are amazing. You need to hear that you are loved. It is so sad that most of you guys don't hear that. I had someone tell me, a guy told me about an accomplishment. I'm like, oh my God, that is so amazing. if I love you, we have a great relationship, I would be your biggest cheerleader. Like, I'm that person that if you tell me you got a new job, I'm like, yes, that's what I'm talking about. Like, that's just who I am. But I realized this one man, it's a black man, was like, Sakina, no one ever told me that they were proud of me. He was the first person. So I hope and pray that more people tell you that. And I hope that you're able to receive it. Like when someone tells you, hey, you look so good. You look good in that suit. You look good in that hoodie. You got a nice haircut. Man, you fine. Or, hey, you are just amazing. You are dope. You are phenomenal. I hope that you're able to really receive that. And know that you are worthy of compliments. You are so worthy. You're so worthy of that. So I really hope that you receive all the positive affirmations that people give you and know that you earned it. If someone tells you that you're handsome, you are handsome. If someone tells you look good, that's because you look good. If someone tells you that, hey, you look nice in that suit, that's because you look nice in that suit. Okay? So I hope that you really embrace positivity, and I hope that you welcome blessings. I hope that you welcome affirmations. I hope that people affirm you and reassure you that you are great and you are worthy. I hope that you get that because you need it. And I say that to all men, but I'm really talking to black men. I hope that you really feel that. And as a black sister, I just want to let you know that I see you. For those that need hugs but never ask for it, but you hope people look in your eye and say, damn, I need a hug. Can you give me a hug? But maybe you don't know how to communicate that, or you know how to communicate it, but you're afraid that someone's going to call you some type of name because you need some type of affection. I just want you to know that I see you. I see you. That's all I have, guys. Cultivate the love that you want, but I pray that it starts within, because if it's within, then it's going to show outwardly, and you are going to receive all the blessings. I love all of you guys, and I mean it, and I just wish blessings to everyone that's listening to this. If you know someone that has YouTube, I hope that they're able to follow my channel. It's Sakina Tillman. This video will be posted on there. But to everyone, all love. I love you, and I hope that you're making some type of impact, and I hope that how you show up one way is how you show up always. But I will tell you that when I get my hair done this Thursday, how I'm gonna show up for the next 2 snaps, Monday morning chats, it will be different. Take care, guys, and have a great Monday. Happy May. And just have a great, phenomenal week. Take care. Bye.